You know, we are working under the title Conversations with the Higher Self. Are you okay assisting us with that at this time?
Yes.
So we want to start with a question, because this topic is healing through the higher self. How it helps in trauma healing, self-discovery, and emotional balance. We want to ask, how does the higher self heal the body during a hypnosis session such as this?
The higher self looks for the energetic imbalances and works to stabilize those.
How is it doing that? What is it utilizing to heal?
It's all energy. So if the energy cannot flow freely, if it's blocked, if there's something artificial in the way, if it's been tampered with in some situations, you work to correct it so that it can then flow freely. Once the energy can move correctly, the pains and problems that most people complain about go away. Everything physical that you experience in your body, such as a disease or a pain, it all starts energetically first.
Are we just not good at picking up on that energetic signature?
Well, you're in a state so that it's very difficult to read energy. Some are starting to be able to finally, but this three-dimensional body makes it very difficult for most to feel the energetic blockages. And so the body is forced to manifest it physically so that it can then be addressed and corrected.
So why is this more effective than just the day-to-day healing processes we do for ourselves?
Because it heals the root cause.
If it is so easy to just remove an illness, such as through this method, why doesn't it happen normally for us without having to do this?
Because when you are trying to work with energy and you're in a standard three-dimensional state, the body, the person, the ego gets in the way of being able to feel the energy or sense the energy. And then it tries to guess what needs to be done instead of allowing it to flow naturally.
So how do we get out of the way so that it can happen naturally?
Practice. But most people do not take the time. In this state, the ego is no longer in the way. And it allows the higher self to come through and correct what needs to be done.
And does meditation, if we were to do it in a meditative state, is it just clearing the mind, or does something else need to happen to create that healing?
Think of the ego as your firewall. It's there to protect you, but sometimes it also blocks things that you need to come through. When you're in this state, the firewall's gone. So you're able to do what needs to be done without distraction. It is possible in a meditative state, but it will take longer and with more effort. because your firewall is essentially still there, running in the background.
So would it work even if we recorded, say, a hypnosis session to listen to? Will it create the same effect?
Yes, because when you are listening to it while asleep, that is very similar to this state. The ego is in a more relaxed manner and not actively on duty, so to say.
So the one that I recorded and uploaded to my channel, is that one effective for doing the same thing, since that was the intent?
Yes.
Is it? Go ahead.
If it is listened to while the person is in a relaxed manner, such as meditation or sleep.
Is it just as effective as doing this like we are now using hypnosis?
I would not say just as effective, only because now there is dialogue and communication. So if you need clarity, you can ask questions to garner clarity. Or if what you are believing needs to be fixed is not the actual root problem, you can then instruct the higher self to fix what is the root problem. It's just more direct. But I do feel that it would work. Just not in as direct a manner.
So it helps because we call through the higher self and then ask it to assist
Correct.
in that sleeping state or restful state.
Correct.
And so it can have this similar or same effect.
Yes.
So how can we create these types of healings for ourselves so that they happen more often and become more commonplace?
You would need to instruct the higher self to remove any energetic blockages that are no longer serving the person, especially if they are preventing the flow of energy.
You would just request these blockages be removed, even if you do not know what they are?
Correct.
Okay, and the higher self will do that?
If it is in their best interest. The higher self will never do anything that will harm the physical body. If there is something that still needs to remain, if there is a lesson that still needs to learn, or an experience that has yet to be experienced, then those will remain until the correct time. But if it is something that is no longer serving benefit, then the higher self can be instructed to remove it at that time.
So how can someone begin to create these healings for themselves without having to go under for a hypnosis session or into this deep state that we are in now?
They would need a guide to guide them through it. It is not easy for someone to do it on their own.
And a guide would just be someone who would talk them through it?
Correct. Or a voice that they listen to.
So it's still similar to a hypnotic state?
Correct.
Do we really need to understand or know the basis of where an illness has started, even if it was from a past life, to heal it now?
I believe it is not necessary, but the human existence is curious. And so they always ask why. And they're never satisfied until they know why. So I would say it could be helpful, although the higher self could show them while they're in that state. Similar to if it was a dream. They could ask to be shown what caused it to be placed there, what circumstances led up to its creation. And then once the person understands the why, then they can let go and release easier.
Are some of our illnesses really pre-agreed upon to give us the experience of learning and growing?
To some extent. The soul may decide it needs to experience something, and it may not want to waste time on a long life to do it. So it may agree to experience childhood disease or illness. It may decide to experience, certain traumas to have that experience.
So many people, when they're told this, struggle with this idea that it might be their choice on a soul level. Why is that so difficult for us to understand a bigger picture?
That's part of our ego, where we struggle to grasp that this particular existence may not be all there is. That each lifetime how can I explain? Okay. So every day you get up and you choose an item of clothing to wear. You know the occasion you're dressing for. You know what you might be experiencing that day, so you select your clothing. And then you realize in the back of your closet there's an outfit you have not worn in a long time. So you choose to wear it. These simple acts of choosing what to wear is similar to our souls choosing what to experience in a lifetime. We have so many lifetimes that choosing to experience, say, traumatic death or a long love or a childhood illness is really no different than you deciding whether you want to wear pants or a dress. The soul needs the full experience of what it is to be human. Does that answer your question?
It does. I know we're limited in our point of view, which makes it difficult for us to see something so big, so small. But I understand, I think. I'm just hoping that that translates well for those who are struggling to grasp the idea of what our souls are choosing.
The ego is created for this lifetime only. It feels this lifetime is what is important. But to the soul, it knows there's so much more. And it's just one shirt and a closet of many shirts.
does the body not want to let go of an illness after the lesson is learned? And how do we make it easier to let them grow as soon as we learn from that lesson?
Because it's familiar. So many people identify themselves as their illness. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a COVID survivor. Whatever. They label themselves as the illness that they overcome. It becomes their identity. And it just programs that illness deep into their subconscious. Instead of looking at it as something they experienced and moved on, it instead becomes their identity, who they are. When those programs are ran so deep, it's very easy and comfortable for them to be re-triggered because they're familiar. You identify yourself with illness and not health. Health is what becomes foreign.
Why are we like that? Why is that the easy choice?
Because of the familiarity. It's just another way to label and define yourself. And what many people don't realize is that when you label and define yourself as something negative, you're lowering your vibration, your frequency, and aligning it with the frequency of that illness. And even though it's harmful, it becomes familiar, a comfort. It's what you feel distinguishes you from others. It's your identity. And so you talk about it, and you share it with others, and you continuously reprogram it deeper and deeper into you until it becomes who you are. And then, when you want to rise above it and find health, it's an uphill battle.
Is that why, say, cancer people, when they find out they have cancer, get worse? Because they now pay attention to it?
Yes. That's also why they say mindset is so important. There are some people who experience cancer and stay positive, and they don't let it define themselves, and they continue living. Those are the people that rise above it.
Even if the soul decided to choose that illness for a reason?
Of course. Just because the soul decided to choose it doesn't mean it has to be who you are. There are things that Jennifer has experienced that were negative. They don't define her. She's taken a so what attitude. It happened to me, so what? And it's very helpful to move past the negative things that have occurred.
Even if we're supposed to learn something from them?
You can still learn from it and say, so what? You do not have to let it define you.
I think I understand. Is there really a theme or a pattern to certain illnesses, such as, they say, grief stores in the lungs and affects them?
Correct, because that is the energy center that becomes damaged.
And how do we know? How do we follow that pattern? How do we become more cognizant of it for illnesses? What those patterns are?
You can recognize the emotion that is brought up by the illness, or the emotion associated with the illness, or the area of the body that is affected. You can honor that emotion and release it.
And we can all release it in our own ways.
Correct.
How can we work with our higher selves to help with things like depression, anxiety? And what is it really? And how do we move beyond it?
It's fear. Fear of living, fear of what you may experience, fear of what you cannot control. We're programmed by what we see and what we hear and what we speak. And so when you are constantly reading negative information, when you're constantly listening to negative information, and when you're hearing about all the negative things that are occurring throughout this world, then you start to program yourself with this fear. But you can also do the reverse. You can speak only positively. You can speak words of affirmation over your life to remove that fear and to remove that anxiety and doubt. And it will have the opposite effect, the positive effect.
So does it seem to be different for different people? Because, say, Jennifer can listen to the news objectively and see the things going on without being affected negatively, but I cannot listen to those things without it still affecting me negatively, no matter how hard I try. So I just do not.
She is able to be an observer without becoming emotionally involved. It takes some practice, but it also comes from the so what attitude. Okay, that's happening, so what? It's important to remember that you can observe what's happening to others without experiencing it yourself and taking on those emotions. It's almost a extension of what you would call shielding, where you protect yourself from negative energies, but you must also do so with what programming you're exposed to as well.
Okay. So what are the limitations of healing with the higher self? Is there a certain point where the higher self cannot heal something?
It cannot replace something that has been removed. If a limb is missing, it cannot grow a limb. You are still limited to the biology of your body, and you do not have the ability to regrow limbs.
Or is there not a time in civilization where we have heard in the past where those things were able to be healed?
There were technologies that were available to past civilizations that were more advanced than yours, where they could. But in this time and space, now, it is not a possibility.
But is it in our best interest to heal most things this way, or is it most beneficial to heal through the higher self most other things, if possible?
Yes, if possible. The higher self will only do what is in the person's best interest anyways.
Well, I want to move on to the questions that we receive and the questions that we have going on currently. And the first question that we have is, many are feeling these physical symptoms from these energetic shifts happening currently. What is going on, and how do we help when we are struggling with physical symptoms?
So there are a few things that are happening. The sun that is coming the energies being emitted from your sun have the ability to change your biology. Not in a noticeable way, but in a energetic way, an upgrade of sorts to your system has been restricted. It's like an engine that has a governor placed on it and cannot move past a certain speed. What is happening now is allowing the governors to slowly be removed and for the energetic output to be increased. But if the physical body is not in a state where it can handle the higher energies that are now running through it, you will experience discomfort. Energetic blockages, which then become physical blockages, physical discomforts and pains, until you are able to clear what is causing it.
And what is normally causing it?
It could be emotion. It could be a physical issue. It could be a limiting belief. Your own ego, your own programming. As these upgrades are taking place, it's, for some people, turning on their intuition for the first time. And it's uncomfortable. They've been disconnected for so long and felt alone for so long that the feeling of being connected to Source or to their guides or to something is a scary, uncomfortable feeling, and so they block it and they try to stop it and prevent feeling it. It doesn't work. It just slows everything down.
So I have a question from Aviana. She wants to know, she said she would like to ask, what is keeping her from exploring her subconscious or her higher self? And why has she had difficulties going under?
She has a fear of the information that she will receive and how that may impact her life. She may claim that she wants to go under, or she may say that she's interested in hearing the information and she really wants it. Deep inside her subconscious, there is a fear of what will happen if she hears something she's not ready for. And so her ego, the part of her subconscious that is the ego, it prevents her from being able to go under in a form of self-sabotage protection.
Does this happen to a lot of people?
Yes.
How do we remove those blocks?
This goes back to what we discussed. Many people have a fear of the unknown, a fear of what they don't see, touch, feel, or can control. And so, in a sense, it's a loss of control that they're afraid of. The ability to relax and completely let go and surrender to the information is very difficult for many.
They just have to work through those things themselves in their own way.
Correct. They have to actively teach themselves to live in the moment, to be present in the moment, to let go of preconceived notions of how everything needs to happen and occur. Once they are able to do that and surrender to the experience, then it will be easier to go under.
So a lot of us are losing close family or friends during this energetic transformation and change. How do we begin to release these people who are moving out of our lives comfortably?
Losing as in separation, or losing as in death?
Yeah, it seems as if people are all of a sudden taking different paths, or the friends we are used to are no longer close, or family who we think we know are no longer what we thought we knew. You mentioned it's some transition energetically for those who are not coming to a new energetic place. How do we release them comfortably?
It's happening organically because your soul is no longer a frequency match for them. There are many people that have made choices, and because of their choices, they are locked in a lower frequency. They may rise slightly due to what is happening with the sun and the earth, but not as much as others. There are those that are actively putting in the work to be the best version of themselves, to remove their limiting beliefs and rise. And it just causes the difference between these two groups. The gap becomes wider.
Are we still on that path now that you have mentioned, that fork in the road?
Yes.
Is it getting broader than it was before?
Yes. And for those that still try to force interactions, you'll feel it physically afterwards. You'll feel energetically tired and drained after time spent around these people, even if they are friends or family. And it's due to the imbalance in frequency.
And in the meantime, can we just shield energetically, protect ourselves to still be around them, or?
You could, or you could choose to align yourself with those that are a better match.
We want to know, what role do cats play in our lives? And what is their spiritual purpose as they exist with us?
They are spiritual guardians. They protect us both on the physical plane, but also in the astral. And so they can choose to be with you, not just in one lifetime, but through several. They may come back and always be by your side as a protector, a guardian of sorts. They can also assist you with healing physically if you are experiencing discomfort.
How do they do that?
They have several methods. One is they can choose to take that illness from you. For example, if you have an energetic blockage, or if you have a toxic load in your physical body that is to the point that it's creating a cancer, and it will be of great detriment to your body, they may choose, because their life is so short, to take that from you, to take that on for you, and to experience it for you, to give you a better chance to live comfortably through your life. It is an act of love and self-sacrifice, knowing that they can come back. And if they choose not to take it, they may assist you with comfort by sitting near you or sitting on you. When they purr, they emit the same frequency of healing that you would experience in the old healing chambers that used to exist. The sound, the vibration, and it can help achieve healing within your physical body.
What about dogs? What role do dogs play spiritually?
Similar as cats.
Do they do something differently, or?
They tend to be more physical guardians in the here and now, but they can also exist in the astral, whereas cats prefer to be spiritual guardians.
Do emotions store within the physical body?
Yes.
Why did we choose that way? How can they store physically when we cannot see them?
It's energy. Emotions are full of energy. When you cry, it's a release of negative emotion. And once you release it, you feel better, correct?
Yes.
What if you stuff it down and don't deal with it?
If you do not cry?
Correct.
Does it store within the body when you do that?
Correct. Emotions that are not dealt with and honored and cleared appropriately from the body will remain stuck, causing harm.
And how do we know if we have cleared them properly?
You will feel it. You will know. You will feel the shift.
You feel much lighter?
Correct.
And until you feel that, it is still there?
Yes.
So if you feel something such as anger often, where does that tend to go most?
The liver.
And what about heartbreak? Where does that tend to store?
The heart.
What about helplessness?
Loss of control would be the head.
Does that cause problems within the head and the mind?
Correct.
Would that be what we consider anxiety or depression?
Correct.
So they're more mental illnesses rather than physical illnesses?
Well, it could be both. Headaches, migraines, tension.
Those can all be different representations of the feeling of helplessness?
Correct.
It varies per person, I assume?
Correct.
What about happiness and joy? Do those also store within the body?
Those are positive.
Yes.
Positive emotions do not harm the body. They heal the body.
And so say if you begin to feel more happiness or joy, what does that do for the body?
For example, if you are sad and depressed, you can actually fake a laugh until it becomes a real laugh. You can watch other people laughing until you join in. And that laughter, once it becomes real, heals the body. It displaces the negative feelings that you were feeling prior to the laughter.
So does it remove them from the organ that they might be stored, or the place?
It negates them. But the root cause of why you were experiencing that will still be there, which means the chance to continue to feel that emotion will still be there until it is dealt with.
So you will still have to do the work.
You cannot bypass the work with a Band-Aid.
Thank you for taking the time to answer these questions for us.